Hello, Simon Miller here. Welcome to Wrestlemania 37 Part 1 Ups and Downs. And given the start of WrestleMania, I have taken the necessary precautions because who the hell knows what the weather is going to do. And if you were a fan of WrestleMania 37, I do feel a little bit sorry for you because it was one of those weather situations where you could be doing the coolest thing ever and you sat there like a grumpy child going, man, I just want to go home. But who flubbing cares because we did get past that and we actually had fans back in a wrestling arena, even if WWE did insist on still pumping Thunderdome type audio in there. But we will talk about it, so brace yourself, sit down, let's get ready and take the finger of power and give the good bits an up. And damn it, the bad bits are now for WrestleMania 37, Part 1. So look, yes, it was nobody's fault, but in many ways, the opening of WrestleMania 37 Part 1 was horrendous. Because everyone just sat there and froze and went, okay, look, it's really, really bad when it comes to the weather, and we're not actually allowed to wrestle right now, so we're just going to stall. And when you think we're done stalling, we're going to stall for a little bit more. There were some massive highlights, though, in the sense that WWE sent a bunch of wrestlers in the back to go and cut promos, which means the pandemic helped us out once again, because again, this was World Wrestling Entertainment just giving professional wrestlers a microphone and saying, say whatever you want. And wouldn't you know it, some people were brilliant, some people weren't as good, so maybe now we should sit down in a meeting and go, hey, let's not script that guy, but let's scrap this guy. It almost sounds like a formula to me. I didn't even care though, because Big E, when he did his, said that he had a wet mouth, and I was like, well, there it is, don't care what we do at WrestleMania now, I'm going to have a good time. Eventually, we did send out Hulk Hogan and Titus O'Neil, who were the WrestleMania hosts, but even that was, aside from being problematic, absolutely stretched out. So you got to call a spade a spade. You want to erupt when WrestleMania starts, and everything just went a little bit limp down. I couldn't give two hoots though, because right after this, out came Drew McIntyre. He got a reaction and you could just see on his face, he was the happiest man ever. I thought it was lovely. In fact, it was so lovely, I've been on dates that were worse. It did mean that we were kicking off with our WWE title match too. Somewhat ironically, Bobby Lashley came out to like thunder and lightning sound effects and visual effects, because I don't really think we need to do that on this evening. And you kind of knew what to expect here, because all week and on commentary, everyone just kept going, oh, it's going to be like two bulls going to war. I was like, what else are bulls meant to do? Like go to dinner? I've never seen it. They did just start kicking each other's ass though, and I think we've all forgotten how athletic Bobby Lashley is. He was just throwing himself around the ring like a man half his size. And I think Drew has made the belly-to-belly overhead suplex his Brock Lesnar German suplex. He just kept doing them and doing them and doing them. You then kind of told a story that Bobby Lashley was meant to be the MMA guy and Drew McIntyre was meant to be the wrestling guy, and I don't know where that came from. But I was also more fascinated that at this point, the commentators had to stand up to do their announcing because it was getting so wet at ringside. And another great part was that Bob was getting reactions throughout all of this. And let's face it, sometimes he has been put in these situations and the crowd hasn't given him anything. But here, he was the bad guy world champion, and I loved it. There was also a point where Drew McIntyre hit 3 Future Shock DDTs in a row and only got a 2 count. And because I'm a buffoon, I went, oh, that's clearly happening because Drew is going to win the WWE title and this is just a ruse. But I was completely wrong, as usual. Because after Lashley's arm had been brutalized in a Kimura, Drew set up for the Claymore kick, and then there was this kind of bizarre moment where he went to give it, but MVP probably went, watch out, there's more weather, so they all just stopped, and then Lashley bailed. Drew McIntyre then followed that up with this crazy dive over the top rope, which was even more nuts, again because of the rain. But then yeah, when they got back in the ring, Bobby Lashley applied the Hurt Lock, and once again I was going, well, Drew's clearly going to get to the ropes, although he has been in it a long time. And then when he couldn't get out and Lashley fell to the floor, Drew McIntyre passed out, and the referee went, well, we can't do much with this. And Bobby Lashley retained his title. This was a true surprise because it actually made me stand up and go, what? Like a massive loser? And I'm kind of in two worlds about this. One, it was an awesome surprise, and I think Bobby Lashley deserves a long title reign. But also, I was like, man, the first time we've had fans in a year, and WWE went, no niceness for you, sit your ass down. But I'm a surprise guy, and I was surprised, and it actually made me more invested in the whole event because I was like, well, I don't know what's gonna happen. So this was truly, truly great, and it's getting it up. Bayley then then did sneak her way onto WrestleMania. She was mucking around with Titus O'Neil and the NWO and saying, hey, you should come on my talk show. And she did something like this later with Michael Cole. Now the rumor, make sure you turn down your radios now if you don't want to hear this, is that she is going to be on night 2 and maybe Becky Lynch is going to interrupt her. But in terms of night 1, well, we do not know. WWE then took a gamble because our second match on Mania 37 was the Women's Tag Team Turmoil title thingamajig. Now, if you have been watching Ups and Downs, you know this has been a little erratic and kind of sadly, but was true for the match as well. Now, our first matchup was Naomi and Lana versus Carmella and Billie Kay because they were basically doing it like a gauntlet. And I just want to say, thank the world for Billie Kay because she essentially mimicked Carmella's entrance here while also having this facial expression like, wait a minute, did I leave the oven on? And she's just so damn entertaining. And if you want to turn her into a new Damian Mizdow, I ain't going to argue with that. And because I did enjoy this so much, she is getting her own specific up. Incredibly too, despite only being a team for 37 seconds, they actually won, although I did not understand the finish. Because Billie Kay used the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment, the surprise roll-up on Naomi, and then Carmella kind of held the ropes and just pushed her feet against Billie Kay's back like that would apply any kind of extra pressure. The Riot Squad were then next and Carmella tried to do the exactly same thing again, but she got caught and then the Riot Squad just hit their finish and that was that. And both of these were super short. And yes, they weren't the smoothest thing you'd ever seen in your life. Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke were in at 4, and I felt so sorry for Mandy Rose because as she was walking down the entrance ramp, she went whoop, and she slipped right out on her ass. And I'm surprised this didn't happen more. And if you're one of these idiots out there going, ha ha ha, Mandy Rose fell on her bum, of course she did. That must have been like walking on ice. I can't even walk to my bedroom without somehow breaking a hip. The more disappointing thing is that in the same match, because it all counts as one, we got another most devastating move in all of sports entertainment because Liv Morgan surprised Dana Brooke with a surprise roll-up. And at that point, I was like, man, I don't really feel like we're trying. Tamina, there is nobody meaner, and Natalya were the last team in, and if you can believe it, the crowd had actually gone quiet here. And I was like, come on, guys, we can ramp it up a little bit. Although it's also not really their fault because the story building into this has been kind of lame. And it also ended so weirdly. It was like anti-WWE. Because Natalya was about to win with a sharpshooter, but instead she tabbed into me and went, you climb the ropes and hit your splash. You're like, okay, she's gonna screw up. But she didn't. She just hit the splash. She got the 3, and now, yes, later on night 2, we're getting those 2 taking on Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax. And look, yes, everybody worked really hard, but again, none of this is clicking, and sadly, this didn't really feel like a WrestleMania match. Down. We kept the hits on coming though, because it was Seth Rollins out next, who has this badass new music. It's like his old music mixed with his, oh, I'm some kind of weird guy theme, you know, oh. But it's also a bit like tech metal. Man, it was really, really good. It also meant it was Rollins versus Cesaro, and flub me, I was so excited about this. Thankfully, they proved me right. I still laugh because the story to this was that man doesn't want to be swung, but who even cares about that when it started off by Cesaro running at Seth Rollins and just slamming him with an uppercut like he was flipping Sagat. He also went for the swing straight away, which was the story of the match. The commentators were like, oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing. And I do have to call that one to task. It's not embarrassing. It's not the stink face. Rikishi used to wear a thong and go, ha ha ha, I'm gonna put my bum in your face. Here, you're just going round and round. I actually think it looks quite fun. The two just went nuts though, and you have to go out of your way to see this. I mean, at one point, they were both on the top rope, and Seth Rollins got out of that. He grabbed Cesaro, ran across the ring, and gave him a buckle bomb, and then they were back on the top rope again, and they did that superplex Falcon Arrow spot, and the height that Cesaro got, it was like he was on the moon. There was also a tease that Cesaro wasn't going to be able to do the swing because he tried once and only got 8 repetitions. It's like, man, what kind of nerd can only do 8 repetitions? And then Seth Rollins busted out a 360 spinning corkscrew splash, which I don't think I've ever seen. And sometimes we all just need to sit down, like I'm pretending to do now, and go, oh my gosh, Seth Rollins is a really good wrestler. And also Cesaro, I don't believe is of this planet. Cesaro busted out a neutralizer, only got the 2, so of course had to do the shocked face. Like, I can't believe somebody kicked out my move, even though everybody kicks out my move, and we need to stop doing that. Seth Rollins reversed another one into a pedigree. And I was like, this is like watching a WWE 2K video game. I am so happy. Seth then started to shout how he's the man because he took a neutralizer and he's still standing. So of course Cesaro got up. He caught him in the swing and this time gave him 23 rotations, which is a record. So now the shame on Seth Rollins' family is going to last 23 years. Pretty sure that's how it works. He followed that up with another neutralizer to get his victory at WrestleMania, and please WWE, do something with him. Just turn him into some kind of mega super duper star because he's so good and Seth Rollins is so good. Honestly, this made me feel so pleased in my tum-tum and clearly is getting it up. The Dirty Dogs were then celebrating their tag team victory backstage while also talking about the Raw Tag Team Championship match. That was a little bit strange. It was like, why do you two care? But of course, it did mean it was time for the New Day versus AJ Styles and Omos. And I think I was the only person on the planet looking forward to this. But I felt justified. Because this was just a load of fun. For starters, Big E was here and he was doing the New Day intro live, and I love seeing those three together. And AJ Styles was basically beaten up by the New Day for a huge portion of this match, which worked for two reasons. One, it allowed us to hear Xavier Woods go, "We've cut off the ring," because we're a really good tag team, and I love it when people do stuff like that. But also two, once again, the story was really simple. Look at the huge man in the corner. What's gonna happen when AJ tags him? He is also so tall, and I know you know that, and I know that, but you don't really get it until you see him in this kind of environment. He's so big, you can keep things kind of old school, and it just works. And this was the same when he got in there, because everybody kind of froze, although I will admit it was a little bit dumb, because Kofi and Xavier, like I'd say, had beaten AJ Styles up for ages, and Kofi Kingston took his eye off the prize because Omos was just there. These wrestlers need to stop getting distracted. Omos obviously no-sold everything because he's massive within WWE, and that means he's impervious to pain, but we didn't overthink this at all. He was just a powerhouse, he was just strong, he kind of clashed people in the corner, but it was the finish where we obviously went, "You need to believe it, Omos." Because after Styles had dove off his shoulders and hit Xavier Woods with a phenomenal forearm, and that was brilliant, Omos just hit this massive slam thingamajig, and he pinned Kofi Kingston, the former WWE champion, by putting his foot on his chest and going, "Come on, baby." No, that was Chris Jericho. But it was that. He got the 1, 2, 3. We had new tag team champions, and I do not understand how AJ Styles and Omos are bad guys. I'm actually in love with them. So this was just really, really simple, but really, really effective, and not everything needs to be a 5-star classic. Also, fair play to the New Day. They did everything they could to get Omos over. Got our tease for the new WWE 2K game after this, and it does look very good. But of course, after what happened last time, we all just need to wait and see, but I hope it kicks ass. The madness then continued because it was Braun versus Brains, or Shane McMahon versus Braun Strowman, or someone being very sad that they got called stupid. I mean, I was called stupid by my girlfriend 5 times up to this point, but for some reason it really upsets Braun. Incredibly too, we gave Strowman a special WrestleMania entrance here, where he came out on an actual train, dressed like a train driver. If you bought that, you should have watched the show. It didn't happen. Now let's get the bad stuff out the way first. I thought it was so disappointing that before Braun Strowman even got in the cage, he was being attacked by Elias and Jackson First Commander Riker, because that's the whole point of a steel cage, and I just didn't need to see it. Also, the first 5 minutes of this was Shane McMahon punching Braun Strowman and Braun selling it like it was Mike Tyson. I have seen Strowman get hit by vehicles in WWE and gone, "Ha ha ha ha, that doesn't affect me." So all of that was just too much and it's getting it down. The other issue was that I didn't really care who won, but they absolutely turned this up a notch when Shane McMahon did hit the coast to coast and we started to muck around with gimmicks. Because McMahon found a toolbox on top of the cage, which is the equivalent of you finding something in your ass that you absolutely want to eat, and he smashed Braun over the head so it looked like he was going to win. He started to climb down the cage, but Braun caught him by grabbing him by the wrist, and then he ripped the side of the steel cage off before pulling him back in. And sometimes you just gotta say fair play, that was pretty damn good. On top of that, it was also time for our let's try to kill Shane McMahon at WrestleMania spot, because when they were back up on top of the cage, Braun just grabbed him and chucked him upwards before Shane McMahon took a flip bump and landed probably more awkwardly and more horrifically than any wrestler in the history of pro wrestling. I was like, oh, that's it, we've done it. Shane McMahon is gone. It looked like it hurt like absolute hell, and obviously Braun followed that up with a running power slam to get the 1-2-3. And while you probably could have shaved 5 minutes off this, again, it was fun. I didn't feel like, oh man, this is really boring or this is really crap. I was entertained, which is all I need from my pay-per-view, so we can have it up. Hall of Fame catch-up followed this, which was actually quite nice because none of the Hall of Fame guys got to perform in front of a real audience this time, so at least they got that. And then there was more craziness because a bunch of bunnies started to hop to the ring. And Byron Saxton was all like, why is there a bunch of bunnies? I was like, Byron, do you not watch the show? It's kind of obvious. They were, of course, the entourage for Miz and Morrison, who did their rap during their entrance, and it was some of the worst lip-syncing ever, and they were going to be taking on Damian Priest and Bad Bunny, meaning the big question was, well, can Bad Bunny wrestle? And I'm very happy to report the answer is yes. He also arrived on a truck wearing Viscera's jacket, so I don't know what was happening there, but when he did tag in to start the thing, he, for a guy that has only been training, for a couple of months, was absolutely brilliant. And not only on offense, but when he was getting beaten up, he sells like he's about to break in two. So I was watching this like, oh my God, I had the fear. Plus he did a nice arm drag, he did a drop toe hold, and even busted out the most devastating move in all of sports entertainment. You've got to give it up to Bad Bunny. And if you are one of those people out there right now going, well, I don't think it's that good, you don't think anything is good. Vince McMahon could grab you, drag you into WrestleMania, make you the champion. You go, well, I don't think I got pushed properly. You that guy. The fans flipping loved it too. He got a great reaction, especially when he was doing one of those floating Hurricane Ranas that goes on for ages. So I guess the only thing we can do now is make him WWE champion on Raw. So he more than held his own, and this was also doubly smart because it meant he got the hot tag to Damian Priest. So he was allowed his moment, and he looked absolutely terrific too. And if we can use this to launch him into the stratosphere, well, I will be very pleased with that. There was also this great near fall after The Miz had hit the skull-crushing finale, but Bad Bunny broke it up at the last second, but then Damian Priest got The Miz on his shoulders. Bad Bunny hit a crossbody off the top, and he pinned him for the 3 count, and this was everything you would want from a celebrity WrestleMania match, and puts Bad Bunny in that conversation. Is this the best celeb crossover ever? The answer could very well be, maybe. Which left us to our main event, which was Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks, and genuinely, from the bottom of my toes, I don't think this could have been better if we had tried. Because I mean, let's look at all the parameters. If you believe the best match of the night, or what has the potential to be the best match of the night, should go on last, we did it. If you think the WrestleMania main event should have some kind of significance, we did it. And if you think the WrestleMania main event should send fans home happy, well, we did that too. It was also just so important seeing 2 black women headlining an event as huge as WrestleMania, and we have to make this the norm, but also the ending was so satisfying, and it made me happy with the world, which is why it doesn't just get an up, it gets a golden up. These 2 as well, let's just book them in a feud for the rest of the year because they have such good chemistry, and Bianca Belair as a good guy is just perfect because you can't teach what she has. When she's upset, she looks upset. When she's excited, she looks excited. When she wins, you feel for her and you go, yes, you did it. That's just stuff she has deep down in her bones, so WWE has to take advantage of it. From there, it's back to wrestling tennis, because Sasha Banks was in charge and Bianca Belair was in charge, but then Bianca grabbed Sasha, put her in the press slam position, and walked from the outside of the ring, up the stairs, and tossed her back in the squared circle. So the next time she tells us she's the strongest in WWE, you gotta go, well, yeah, you just showed me the evidence to that fact. Banks also kept using Bianca's hair against her throughout all of this, so you knew there was gonna have to be some kind of payoff, but I was not ready for it. Because towards the end, Belair took her hair and she whipped Sasha Banks so hard it actually sounded like a gun was going off. And all these stupid rumors and reports about slapping the knee or slapping the leg, well, as we found out, you just need to grow your hair and absolutely hit somebody as hard as you can. It all built to Belair hitting the KOD and getting the clean win and becoming the SmackDown Women's Champion. And honestly, this was perfect. It was one of those perfect WrestleMania moments that you can't draw down on a piece of paper. You just have to throw it into existence and hope that it plays out. And it absolutely did. It made me feel good again. It was the right thing to do, and it was just fabu. It was just fabu, as they say in the wrestling industry, what a great piece of business. And that's how WrestleMania Night 1 ended, and what a flipping good show it was. I mean, most people beforehand were like, well, I think Night 2 is better than Night 1. Well, if that is true, we are in for a treat later, because I have no qualms looking at you right now and saying, overall, it is getting an up. I may even go watch it again. Just all the parts after the raid. Now, don't forget to leave a comment below and let us know what you thought about WrestleMania Part 1. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. WhatCulture.com has more for you, so make sure you check it out. Click on the video on the screen, because you need more WrestleMania video content in your life, and we're on social media. Come and say hi. My name is Simon for What Culture. Thank you for watching as always, and of course, same time tomorrow, we'll be back to up those downs for Night 2, where Roman Reigns, Edge, and Daniel Bryan may actually kill each other. I'll see you then.